Okay, so I have asked myself many times, what is the problem in human progression? Like who are the people who are standing in the way of human progression and human evolution? So remember, the other video that I made where I was saying that it was white people. I wanted to continue to go on and finish my point. The reason why I say white people are to blame, well, it's actually not even my idea. I actually, I ask many questions in life, whether I'll go on a social media platform or I'll ask somebody else or I'll have conversations with the source and, I'll be shown things. But, I remember I said white people was the answer. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't that wasn't my idea. Like I wasn't the one that came up with it. That was like, oh yeah, that's the answer because I didn't know. I asked a question I didn't know. So I also asked, well, how is that possible? Because I didn't think so. Like, see how I grew up. I grew up I grew up in a very diverse um, area. Most of my life, I grew up with lots of different groups of people, and so I got used to people having their own differences. I learned at a young age to accept people for who they are. If they're healthy and they're tolerable, then to accept people for who they are because everybody is different and not everybody's going to agree. But we can all bring something to the table. We can all bring intelligence, wisdom, information, a perspective, and that can definitely broaden the horizons on our mentality and the way we think. So I, was wondering, well, I mean, if I'm around all these different groups of people, all these different mindsets, why is it that white people are to blame specifically? Why are white people to blame? Why? Why would you just blame one group of people? That doesn't seem fair. At least that was what I was thinking at the time. Because, I can't fathom having a mindset where I would discriminate against someone who, first of all, what they eat don't make me shit, and the money that they earn don't pay my bills. So why does it matter unless they're not endangering an innocent person or a child? What does any of that have to do with me? That's what I was thinking at first, trying to be open minded and not being aware that certain people go through things. So anyway, I asked myself, white people, like, why are white people the problem? When I received that answer, I did receive that answer. How? Well, I think, the articles that I read you guys from the newspaper answer. Okay. I think, you know, the articles that I read you guys answered the question, but I want to go a little bit more in depth as to why I say white people are the problem. You have to understand, we are dealing with immigrants. We are dealing with immigrants who colonized every single continent on this planet, took away our resources, took away our culture, took away our heritage, cut off our roots, and I mean that literally. So, spiritually cut off our roots from our ancestors by taking away our spiritual beliefs and making us believe or cater to religion. And then another way that they did that was by um, cutting off our hair or mutilating our hair follicles. Yes, I said it. Mutilating our hair follicles to disconnect us from not only each other but the essence that we all have. because with it, if you have any black blood in your family or in your DNA, you are naturally going to have an essence. It's going to be in your voice, the tone, your hair, your lips, your nose, whatever genotype or phenotype you have, it's gonna show your African heritage, your mitochondrial DNA. And so what white people have done when they've invaded every continent was they disconnected us from our mitochondrial DNA. They tried to destroy the DNA structure and simply make it an RNA structure. They tried to do that through science. Now, I will admit, I will be 150% honest. This was not the white person's idea, but white people perpetuate that system every day. I know that, at first I was blind to it because I had the rose colored glasses on and I thought I had support. I thought I had friends, but as you can see now, I've had to cut a lot of people off because I didn't know that they were racist or they supported white supremacy or they were complacent or, excuse me, complicit. I didn't know that they were willing to support or to turn a blind eye to white supremacy as long as it benefited them. So there were even people who were not white, such as my black or ex-black friends and ex people of colors or ex friends who were people of color that were not, who didn't identify as African or African or a part of the African diaspora, but you could tell that they had African DNA. I had to cut some people off because some of them were not willing, like people of color that I was associated with at one point in time, were not willing to acknowledge their mitochondrial DNA, and they were willing to go out of their way to suppress it, even at the expense of coming off racist, even if they weren't even that like that. They were just doing that to fit into the economy, to get a better job, to do this, to do that. And I understand, I'm not judging in that specific area, but it conflicted with my spiritual beliefs because um, I struggled with my identity for quite some time, ever since I was a child. And so when I found out that I am a melanated being, it changed my life. I went Huey Freeman mode on everybody that I associated with. I went from Riley to Huey Freeman, like literally. And when I transformed to Huey Freeman, I was not playing anymore. Like that was the point of no return. I had I had made it clear to everyone in my life that I was a revolutionary, that I am a truther. That's what I'm going to be, and there's no compromise on that. It's just that simple. And in me being a truther, it meant whatever scientific or historical research that I found, it didn't matter if it benefited me or not. If that's the truth and it's evident, that's the truth. Especially, on moral issues. When it comes to moral issues, when it comes to, my African heritage, I'm proud of that. And I noticed that the more I became proud of my African heritage, the more I attracted hate from people I thought were my friends. And so it got to the point where I had to cut people off. I had to cut them off, clean cut, no returns, no reconciliation whatsoever. Because once that mask came off and the racist behind the hoodie, the white hood, was exposed, I had to walk away. It was just something I had to do. Even mixed or biracial black people I've had to cut off because some of them in their mindsets were, I'm just going to only acknowledge the white side and I'm just going to completely annihilate the African side of me. And so everyone is free to make their own choice, but I learned the hard way that keeping people around that had that mentality was going to put me in physical danger. People like For example, some of the people that I used to associate with growing up in school and in extracurricular programs would make little subtle racist remarks. They would say things like, "Oh, well, you're not black, you're brown," or um, they would say things like, "Oh, well, you're not like all the other black ones. You're one of the good ones." They would say something like, "Oh my God, red bones. Oh my God, they have all those damn freckles. What the fuck is that shit?" I mean, literally, like I'm quoting these people word for word. And so when I ignored those statements, thinking, "Oh, nah, no, these people couldn't possibly be racist," and let alone, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was in that get out syndrome where I had those rose colored glasses, and I forgot to put the cotton in my ear. Yeah, I forgot to put the cottons in my ear. Oop, yeah. So I was in that get out stage in my life, and these were people that I had to be around. I didn't have a choice but to be around people like that. I didn't get that option to just walk away because I was a minor at the time. So, and I was going to school with some of these people. Some of these people I had to go to church with. Some of these people were involved in the same extracurricular activities that I was involved in. So it was really no escaping those types of people. As much as I wanted to pack my bags up and get up and walk away from them, I didn't have that choice at the time. Okay, so this was things that I had to deal with when it started to become more clear that I was oh God, oh God, the world is ending. I just discovered, oh my, that I had to come out of the closet as a black, a black. I had, oh God. Okay, the people around me, oh my God, this is an atrocity. Oh my God, the world is coming to an end. They had to just accept the fact that I was Af- African. Oh God, and it just that was how they responded. So, but seriously, it was like, when I started to, be proud, I started to show, whatever knowledge that I learned about African history or, African theologies, whatever it is, spiritual beliefs, even herbalism. When I talk, it was times where, I caught on to the fact that talking about me being, hold on, I noticed that talking me, me talking about being black made people uncomfortable. So I turned it down a little bit. I didn't go full zero, but I went maybe like point 0.5, 1, 1.5. I stopped right there, you know. But, I noticed it. So I stopped doing that so much. And I started talking about herbalism. Yes, I started talking about herbalism and how, herbalism can really help people who are struggling in life. Because a lot of us, some of us are born with ailments, and some of us, get ailments with time, and it's very unfortunate for anyone to have any ailment of any kind because a lot of the times the people who don't have a particular ailment don't understand how hard it is to live with one. So I shared herbalistic ideas with people, just talking about it. I did originally introduce it as the African biomineral balance, but I stopped making it about race and I started making it about really just a moral issue, a moral thing. Like, okay, you know that, if you eat certain foods, this can happen, but if you eat this food right here, it'll help you and it actually tastes good. You should try it. And that was the kind of like I realized that, I kind of had to be careful with my approach and how I deliver a message. I had to be careful I became a little bit more aware of that. So then I kind of had to, take it down a notch on the race thing because I was around a lot of people who were not black, like fully black, like black, black, black. Like they were like if they were black or they had black DNA, they were passing as another ethnicity. If y'all catch my drift. So um, the point of the matter is, I introduced the idea of herbalism. I introduced the ideas of spiritualism, or people would ask me because they would notice changes within me. They would ask, what's going on with you? What you doing? What you eating? What are you reading? What are you into these days? And I would tell them, people would be like, something's changed in you. What happened? I would tell them, and anything outside of pretty much the Anglo-Saxon Christian way of living that we've all been taught was denied, was rejected, was met with a lot of cruelty and prejudice, and it was just unnecessary. Because it wasn't like I was coming in people's lives and being like, "Oh, hey, you eat meter, you carnivore. Oh God, you're gonna burn in hell for slaying an animal or eating the flesh of an animal. Oh God, you're going to hell." I wasn't like that. I didn't judge people because I eat meat. Like I still eat meat to this day. It's fucking good, okay? Like sorry, like sometimes like when I get hungry and I'm craving some meat, I may smell it or I may see it and then I'm like you know, my carnivore vampire senses start tingling. I'm like meat? I'm hungry. I need it. Meat. Like the meat monster. Like for Cookie Monster or whatever. That's how I was with meat. Like meat. You know, that's just how I was. That's how I still am to this day. I struggle with that, but I try to implement more herbs and stuff in my diet. Now, let me get to the point. I've kind of noticed the difference between black people's responses and white people's responses. There was a drastic difference. Black people did not support me right away. Not right away because they was like, man, this shit tastes nasty. What the fuck is this shit? Oh my God, what the fuck? Right? That was the reaction. I'm finna go back to eat my motherfucking macaronis, my motherfucking chitterlings, and that's just it. But then when it came down to white people, on the other hand, I was met with near death experiences. Near death experiences. Um, it wasn't until later on in my life to I had to learn the hard way to learn when to identify a white person that supports you and when to identify one that doesn't. But let's just say I found that out the hard way. Anyway, so back to why white people are the problem. Okay, so anytime I talked about herbalism, different spiritualities other than Europeanized ones, so if you take out monotheism, if you take out mythology and philosophy, and you focus on something else besides those three concepts, I was met with near death experiences. I was met with oppression. And I've seen this happen with other people too, where they'll express their opinion like just mildly. Or they may even agree with me, and then some of them started to suffer. And I was like, what the fuck? Because my thing is, if you're solid in your belief system, you don't have to hurt someone that just disagrees with you. Like I understand like it's okay to be passionate about something, but to attack someone physically because they don't agree with you, break them down, make them dependent on you, and ultimately that is what the system of white supremacy has done to everybody. They even do this to their own children. I seen it with my own eyes. Like okay, let me just give an example. I'm not going to give out any names, just an example. There was a white guy in my life who expressed his common belief systems in herbalism on a moral perspective, because everybody can say, oh, well, I do this, I eat herbs, and I'm a vegan, and I'm this. It's really, really hard to follow through on the vegetarian diet, vegan, alkaline, and herbalism. They're all four different diets. Okay, vegetarianism, veganism, alkalinity, and herbalism. There is a difference in all of them. And I would suggest people who are genuinely interested in nutritional science or food or just science as a whole to look into it, because I looked into it myself, and I don't want to do all the homework for y'all, but